Okay, we're about to dive into goals. What we've been waiting for, right? So a lot of this, I'm going to unpack stuff. A lot of it is going to be the homework.
This is what I was doing on my phone, by the way.
I love it.
I came prepared.
A lot of it's going to be more in the homework that you're going to do, and the homework is going to allow you to start to shape things and to bring clarity, and then we'll discuss. But I'm going to give you like some of the things that you'll do to set up for the goals. I love thinking about goal planning. There is goal setting, but I feel like goal setting and goal planning need to be intertwined. Every time I set goals, it's a part of a planning process, so it's not just, so all my goals are filtered through a system. And so that's kind of what I want you to get you to do. Based upon what I'm seeing there, this first part is going to be easier, but we'll slowly work through it, and then we'll get to like, okay, what does this goal planning look like?
And that was a goal dump. And I think, too, the reason I did this is I'm really focused on getting a structure for year 2, 3, and 4. Mm-hmm. And I know that's like the most growth I've ever said out of my mouth to you. But that's something where I'm trying to appreciate and use all the information and all the substance that I know it's going to take. So like when I take one of these goals and break it out into projects and then break that project out into priorities, it's going to be a futile exercise for me. And you know that, but I'm excited to actually spend the time. And so if you think about like full year sales, like something like that, like a very specific goal, there is so much to unpack in that, especially considering that it's just one company in the sea of things that I'm doing. But I'm excited, as you can tell.
I love it. Okay, so first, we're going to break this down into 4 categories. And I might show you this before. This actually plays into a lot of stuff we do at Grow Club, but personal, professional, people, and play.
This was sauna talk. I jerry-rigged this out of the sauna.
Well, that's going to work great. So these are the 4 categories. And what you've already done, but I want you to be able to translate, is to have a dump. I think what people need to have is a goal dump. Like, what do you want to do? Before you even make it smart, just give like, here are the things that are on my mind that I want to accomplish. Like hitting my sales revenue goal, whatever it may be. You don't even have to have the numbers total, but it's like having a dump. Yep. That's the first step. This next page I think is going to be really helpful for you. It's really kind of, I call it growth planning, because it's really kind of breaking down all the things that you have here listed. So you're taking this first page, and hopefully this page isn't like 50 things. Hopefully it's like, reasonable. But you're taking all those things and you're putting them on here, and this is saying what you want to do. Then you're asking a question, is this a goal? Is it a challenge or project? Is it a habit, routine, or priority? And that's something helpful to know, because some of the things that we put down here may not be goals really. It can just be a challenge or a project that we're doing. It might just be a priority that we're setting, or it could even be just a habit that we want to build. And sometimes we don't really know that until we start thinking about it. It's like, this doesn't really need to be a goal. It can really just be a habit. I just want to incorporate it in my life. And I think having this is going to be helpful. Then here's a big question, and I think this should stop you a little bit from doing some things. Who do you want to do it with? I think people tend to try to do all these things by themselves and they grow alone. This doesn't mean that this person has to do it exactly with you, but there needs to be some sort of accountability for the things that you're going after. And also I like this is because when we're doing it alone, we keep it all in our heads and we can spiral out of control. Once we have other people in it, we're like, well, I don't want to talk to everybody about all these things. So we start to limit our list a little bit more. So I think this is just going to be accountability in itself to know, who am I going to do this with? I can't just choose one person and go over 10 things because they're going to be annoyed. But it's almost like you have Dave for the marathon. Like there's like this picture of, I'm doing this with someone, which is obviously pushing you in that picture. You think about that with all the goals and the habits you want to do, it's going to be incredible what happens. And then the last one is, I actually skipped it. That's who do you want to do it with? And then why do you want to do this? Knowing your why for it is important. It's not enough to just say, this seems like a really cool thing to do this year. I really want you to connect it to something bigger. Why do you want to do this? So answer those questions. What do you want to do? Is this a goal, challenge, project, habit, routine, or priority? Why do you want to do this? And who do you want to do this with? Direct involvement or accountability? Any questions on this?
No, it's exciting, man. I'm looking forward to working on this. I know it's going to take me a while too, but I think it's funny because all the columns are going to take me a while, and I think it's going to blister.
Yeah. But it'll also
I guess in a way, I could almost work right to left too.
You could.
You know, I think there's just a lot of different approaches to this. I'm excited.
Awesome. You're like, give me. All right, here's the first page. Okay, once you have this, hopefully this is one of the filters that you have, okay? Of like, by doing this, hopefully as you go through, you're like, okay, I can scratch that. I'm going to do this later. I don't need to do this now. You'll discover that as you do that. From this page, I want you to move the remaining things over to this page. And this is just more of like, okay, here is what I want to do. Boom, boom, boom. Write down your statements here or have it out because I want your statements to be the last filter.
Okay.
So I want you to filter what you actually want to do through your statements. And then also just like the reminder of like, okay, is this a goal? Is it going to take longer than 3 months to accomplish? Is it a project? Can I do it in less than 3 months? Is it a habit? Daily, weekly, priority, less than an hour to complete, or a scheduled event. So this is going to be your final filter to say whatever you put on here, this is what I'm going to attack.
Okay.
Cool?
One question about like specifics. Where would like, and I'm thinking too, so I guess personal people play like so Kay and I obviously like we're getting married. Mm-hmm. Should I just kind of like use my best judgment? I almost want to call that play, but I guess I don't really want to call it people either. It's more personal.
Sure.
Right? So kind of just like some wiggle with it.
Use your judgment. Yeah.
Okay.
Use your judgment.
I think those three, like professional, got it. I think the other three will actually elicit a lot of thoughts for me too.
Yeah.
Like what's a people goal?
Yeah, when you think almost like people development, like you're developing relationships. Think about play, something that fills your cup, fills your tank.
And I think on the people I want to do, you know, I have a lot of philanthropy goals and like they're tied to some of like the professional work too, but I also like mentorship. And even I think from a people perspective, like my mentee relationship too, to mentors. Mm-hmm. So like building some of those personal relationships, I think too, very intentionally outside of my comfort zone. So like I keep wanting, and obviously we've talked about like different private equity, different ventures, different things like avenues I haven't really dove into yet that I'm gonna need help with. I'm really excited for this opportunity to like find a completely random mentor or somebody that I can start talking to about a space that I'm just not well versed in. Mm-hmm. So I think those are the types of things for people to, yeah, they're pseudo professional, but something I want to be really intentional with on the people side.
It's great, man.
Okay.
Have fun with that. That's going to be good. Now we're going to get into this whole goal setting, which includes challenges, habits, routines, priorities, all this. And I think this is why I always have more caution on people as to the amount of goals they set, even the challenges they set, because I'm like, I don't think you realize how much energy this is going to take and how much time this will take out of your day once you do it. So you're going to have this for each one that you work on, okay? So if it's a goal, think about if you start up here with a goal, all of these are included.
Got it.
If you start here with a challenge, these are included. If you start here with a habit, routine, these are included. So if it's the smaller you go with it, if it's a habit, you're only going to add probably some priorities to get it started. If it's a challenge, you're going to have habits or routines with it. You're also going to have priorities. If it's a goal, you're going to have challenges, habits, routines, and priorities. So just thinking about that as a whole, it's like, okay, whatever I decide to do, I don't need to overcommit myself because it's going to take a lot to probably get it started and get it going and keep it going. And a goal is probably going to take the longest. Yeah. So this was just at least giving you an idea of how it's going to look. When I think about goal planning, you got to be flexible. So goal and priority setting, one of the things it says is adaptability. You have to adapt because you might try a habit. When you set a goal, you're saying, okay, these are the habits and routines that I believe will support the goals that I have. and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but you could be wrong.
Yeah.
So when I coach people, I give them some wisdom on that, but partially I don't know fully their life. I'm learning their life, but I let them know you could be wrong and you have to be willing to change that quickly if it's not working. And that's a part of this process. And I'll give you an example, but so when you think about goals, it's simple. I want you to think very, very simple. Yes, it needs to be a SMART goal because that's going to help you process through this, but you're pretty much saying, I will blank, and you're given a date. Now, the blank is a specific thing that you're doing. And what I encourage people to do, if it's a goal, make sure, one, it stretches you. I say about 70% chance that you'll hit it, right? But it shouldn't be something that you already know how to do. If you already know how to do it, why are you doing it?
Right.
It's a task. It's a priority, right? Do something. It's almost like me doing 75 hard. I've already done it twice, but I'm putting it as a goal. That's not a goal. It's a task now because I already know how to flow with it.
Yeah.
The first time it was a challenge for me, but now I can't put it as a goal. So don't do things that you already know how to do. This is stuff that you know, I don't even know how I'm going to hit this. That's why I love goals. You don't know exactly how you're going to hit it. You're stretching yourself. There's things that you're going to have to learn in order to hit it. So I'm going to give you this sheet again so you get the picture. I don't know where I put it. Down here. I want you to get this picture. I showed you this before. When you look in this goal category, the skills, the resources, and capacity are all things you can get over time. So you don't need to have that at the start. It's like, okay, I don't know exactly how to do this. I can learn how to do it though for the goal. I don't have this resource and this resource. Okay, I have enough time. I can learn how to do this by this, depending on the date I choose to complete it. Man, I don't even think I have the capacity. Okay, I gotta remove things around, but I set a time for December to finish this goal. So I got a couple months to move things. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you are changing around your life to complete a goal. It's not just this sounds like a cool goal, let me implement it. You have to rearrange things, and that's why it's so hard, but that's how you grow through it. So it's a really cool process of whenever you set, that's the mindset you're having. It's going to challenge the way you live your life currently. And your life, if your life does not look different after you set a goal, then it's not a goal. Your life should look different.
I'm all excited for my routines that we talked about earlier, but this is like, I wasn't wearing I wore a new outfit today. You see goosebumps, man. I want to get into this. And yes, because it's going to change my life, but also because it's going to change my life.
Yeah, I like it. So I'll give you an example, but I want to run through this. So the cool thing about a goal, and this is why I love the challenges aspect, sort of projects. You need to break down the goal to know how you're going to achieve it. And so challenges are implemented to push you along the way, especially if you're doing something for a year. You implement specific challenges to give you some push and energy for it. Your goals will get boring. I guarantee you. You'll start off really hype, but there's going to get a point you're like, I'm just doing this over and over again. Oh man, you're going to need just to inject some life in it and put a challenge to really, or a project to really bring some life to the goal. And it's so helpful. And it's a way that you can put an extra push to kind of take it to the next level.
That's a cool concept. I really like that.
Then you have habits or routines. Now, these are some of the biggest things to support your goals. Think about it. If you set a goal and you don't have anything that you're doing consistently, how are you going to hit the goal? So the habits and routines are the things that you're setting in place to make sure and ensure you hit it. So for instance, to run a marathon, if you said you're going to run a marathon and you schedule it, but you don't run at all, the chances of you actually running it are slim. You could still do it, you'll be in pain, it would suck, you may not complete it, but the habits and routines you set support your goal. So that goes into, I'm doing my running plan, I'm following my running plan, I'm stretching. Like, these are things that will help you achieve your goals. But if you don't have those habits in place, it's going to be a lot harder to hit the goal. Does that make sense?
It does. Can we jump into this because I keep thinking about it?
Yeah.
So like, looking at this now, I had a marathon as my goal, but I'm actually wondering if that's actually a challenge. I think a 4-hour marathon, a more specific, measurable goal, is different than running a marathon. So, like, to what degree am I going to commit is really fun right now. I'm so curious what's going to be presented back to you next week.
That's
I have
great.
no idea what's going to come out, but it really makes me question too. And like, we know a goal is more than 3 months, but I'm wondering, like, what's the maximum amount of time I have to accomplish a goal? Should I keep it under a couple of years? Because the marathon is just a part of it's a journey, right?
Sure.
But I also want to make sure I'm giving myself some acknowledgement along the way. So completing the right steps, which who's to say those shouldn't be challenges? Is there a method to the magic, or?
Sure. I mean, I think you need to look at the fact of this is the first time you've ever run anything like this, right? So though you are progressing, it's hard for me to answer that.
Yeah.
I know for me, when I ran my first year, I was following my training plan. The marathon kicked my butt. So once you get to that certain mileage, it does change the dynamic. So I think if you want to keep it a goal, it's okay. If you want to push it a challenge, it's okay. But also keep in mind, this is a brand new territory that you stepped into this year. So it wouldn't be bad if you kept it a goal.
Cool. Okay.
All right? And then, so these are habits routines. You can have one of these, you can have 4 of these, you can have 5 of these. That's the thing about it. Depending on the goal, you have to really think. So for instance, if someone's setting a revenue goal, I'm gonna hit $1 million in revenue. I'm like, okay, how are you gonna challenge yourself along the way to do that? You probably have a team. You have some sub-team challenges. What does that look like? You talk about your habits or routines. What are the habits or routines you're setting to ensure that you hit this? And then we get to the priorities. Priorities are, what are the things that you need to do and schedule to get this started? So that could be, let's use running. Okay, I need to get running shoes. I need to do this. I need to do that. Like, you're just listing out those things, but it also could mean a scheduled event. Like, let's say you're hitting a revenue goal. We need to have, or that could be a habit. A habit would be like a weekly meeting, or we need to have a quarterly meeting every quarter to talk through where we are, right? That's a priority. You put it on the calendar, it's set, it's done. Things like that, along with all this, is what's helping you ensure that you actually hit your goal. Does this make sense?
Yeah, man, corporations must eat this up. It's so helpful. I wish I had it. You know, like when I was managing teams, because how many times do you hear from corporations or leaders that are just like, here's our goal, but here's what we do every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely different things.
And people, you have to kind of be ready to do this. Like, it does take work. And that goal planning takes a lot of work. But when you do it, like, this might take me to do all my goals. Bro, it takes me like a whole month to really process through it. But when I do it, the way I'm able to cook through the year, it's incredible.
Yeah. And I think that's the more exciting part, right? I think too, and I'm excited to see, I don't want you to expect a ton of goals from me, because I think that's part of my growth journey too. And what I'm worried about right now looking at this is, how am I going to choose what I'm going to focus on? Mm-hmm. Especially because a goal does not necessarily mean this month, next month, the month after. They're long commitments too. So it's the focus I really need, and why I've been so excited to get to this part, because it's going to be way outside of just soul searching, right? This is, whoa, let's do it. Figuring out how I'm going to become the person I want to be.
Here we go. So I give you a lot of these to work through. I'll also give it to you so you can work on it in your app. But man, it's going to be fun to start to dive into this. This is an example. I gave a really simple example, but also here's how I want you to look at it. Yes, goals can extend over years, but I think it might be helpful for you to think about a year to start. So anytime I think goals, I always think about a whole calendar year. Just like it's more than 3 months, this process. When I think about a challenge, I think about this 3-month process. When I think about habits, I think about my day-to-day, like a week. And when I think of priorities, I think about a day. So I think this will just be a helpful frame. Anytime you think about goal, zoom out. What does my year look like? Challenge project, what does my quarter look like? Habits, routines, what does my week look like? Priorities, what does my day look like? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So all connected together, here's a goal. Finish 60 books this year. Someone hears that, they're like, whoa, hold on, 60 books? How? They're like freaking out because they're like, how in the world am I going to finish 60 books? That's so many books. Like, Then it's like, well, I'm going to read 20 books January through March. That's still probably a challenge for people. They're like, how are you going to read that many books in 3 months? But then you start breaking it down, and this is just one example of habit routine, but one example is I'm going to read 2 chapters Monday through Friday before bed, right? That's one. It could also mean I'm going to listen to audiobook on my way to and from work, right? You start implementing stuff like this and then setting the priorities you need. One of the priorities is make a list of 100 books I want to read. You'll be surprised how a priority like this can save you so much time, because half the battle is like, what am I going to read next? What if you already had a list that you're just checking off as you go and adding to it? So this is how your challenges, your projects, your habits, your routines, your priorities all support the goal that you want to hit, and they all work together. Make sense?
Yeah, man. I just want to get out of here and get to work. I'm so sorry. What do you use to keep all this? Are we going to use Goalify?
Yes. So when it comes to the habits and routines, and I mean, priorities, you got your journal. I don't think you need to do anything with that. Challenges and projects, goals, habits, routines, I think all within Goalify once you kind of have it set.
Okay.
And then it will just kind of track from there. And what's good about it is you'll start to see, am I progressing towards this goal? Am I doing it fast enough? So give yourself some margin if, you have things to learn. And I think that's going to be a big part of it. If there is a learning curve of like, I don't really exactly know how to get this done, and you're going to have to do some research, set a priority for that and things like that, then give yourself some space. But the goal is to really track along the way, am I progressing towards this? There's some goals that I have set for the end of the year that I haven't started, but that's fine because there's other things I'm working on. There's things as I get progressing with swimming, once that's there, then I'm going to step into something different. So you can get really, really strategic with it, but you have to make adjustments depending on how things are going in your life.
Cool. It's exciting, man. This is actually a really helpful exercise to like start with too. So, and I'm looking at my goals. I wrote 10 books. I can do 20 this year. I was like really setting that bar low, but this is like a really helpful exercise too, as I get to some of these more challenging goals to unpack. I think starting with the right goals and then just kind of working my way to some of those loftier challenges is going to be good.
Oh yeah. I have something else for you. Another present. Giving you a lot of stuff today. Here is what I use for my projects and challenges. So what I do is I break it down of, okay, here's my project for 3 months, and I know I have a ton of project priorities. So I make a list of all the project priorities I can think of, and sometimes it takes over this whole page, and I put the proposed date I want to complete those project priorities. What that helps me do is start to plan a little bit better of, even though it's further out, I can start moving things. And another cool thing is I can just start adding. Let's say, you set a project that you're going to finish, let's say in 2 months, and you set this out and you're like, wait, I actually need to do this and this and this as well. Just add it to the list and then you can keep up with it. Once you do that, then you can put like schedulers in your calendar or however you do your task management to really start to keep track with, how am I getting closer to completing these projects? So I think as you get into the challenges that you're doing, or the challenges that are from the goals, you can turn them into projects of, okay, how am I actually going to get this done? Because this is a little ambiguous as well. And so you have to actually think through, what are the steps that I need to do to complete 20 books? Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to add an extra reading time for an hour here. Actually, I'm going to spend a whole half day reading this day. That can be a project priority. You see what I'm saying? So the challenge is saying you can't just do business as usual to complete the challenge, right? You have to change something up and do something a little bit different to do it. And that's where you can actually turn it into a project to get it moving.
Brain is running.
There's a lot here. So I knew this would be a lot of stuff.
Where my brain is going too with some of this stuff too is, we talk a lot about parallel processing, right? So like within a goal, understanding that there's going to be more than one professional goal. How do I want to lay out the project priorities across different goals, right? So like you think about something like marketing, right? Or even development. That's going to impact 2 goals minimum. So how do I want to structure my project priorities understanding that there's synergies across different goals too. This is what I love. This is why like my brain and just my visualization, I'm like, I need to get to a whiteboard right now.
Yeah. This is good, man. So the homework I want you to do is, one, plan out your skill. How are you going to develop that? What does that look like in the challenge category? Conscious, skilled.
I've already forgotten about developing.
Right. I want you to plan this out. So that is a part of, think about that as a part of your goals.
Okay,
like
cool.
Plan that out of what are you going to do? What's the challenge? Is there certain habits you need to implement with it? Is there any priorities you need to implement with it? I assume there probably will be. Think through that. And then the second thing is I want you to start the process of your goals. You don't have to complete if you don't get to, I don't know where it's at, but that goal page, this right here. If you don't get to all of these, that's fine, but I mainly want to make sure that you get to at least all of these and maybe attempt one or two just so we can like talk through it, but at least get through all those and start dwindling it down to see what you're going to do.
Yeah, I think I heard what you said, but I'm going to get to work. I'm excited because this to me, and yeah, I've been redundant about it, you know, this is extremely important. And any time that I spend before I've done this work, potentially throw away, right? I really want to focus on this. I'm not going to go too crazy until I loop back with you just to make sure that I'm at least on the right path. May do a quick weekly check-in before our next session, but thank you so much, man. I'm excited.
Dude, absolutely.